So Ben has asked me to talk to you all about shaping and sharing vision. And obviously we want a bit of biblical foundation in this, so if you could just have the next slide, which has got a bit of a Bible verse, which I'm not going to speak to, but that was a bit of inspiration in terms of where I started from. Now, the famous explorer, Sir Ernest Shackleton, once placed an advertisement in the newspaper in 1900, and the advertisement said this: men wanted for hazardous adventure, small wages, long months of complete darkness, constant danger, safe return doubtful, honour and recognition in case of success. You can just pop that slide up. Does this sound appealing to you? Anybody fancy taking a pop at that? Now, surprisingly, Shackleton commented that it seemed that half of England responded to this advert because people wanted something to give their lives for. Visionary people often attract a following. Have you noticed that? People will come with you if they know that you're going somewhere. So in church life, if we're asking people to do anything, whether that's give them money, whether it's volunteer their time, support a project, welcome people who aren't like them, teenagers, then whoever is doing the communicating needs to articulate a vision of why this is worthwhile, as well as the potential costs of failing. So a vision is a picture of what you want to achieve. It's your dream. How can you paint a picture with words so that others can understand why they might choose to take some concrete actions? Having vision means that you need to communicate some sense of where you're going long term. Obviously, I'd encourage you to pray about this. What is God's vision for your church? And then see if you can write something down to make a sentence. So I've got an example of what a vision might look like here on the next slide. We want to make our church more welcoming, and by the provision of facilities, be able to share our space with support services for young people. That's an example. Now, there's no formula of what vision will work for every church. However, seeing what others have done and what worked and what didn't can help you to stimulate ideas and discussions. But remember, you're not in competition with other churches in your town or community. You don't need to distinguish yourselves from them, and there is value in identifying where God is working already and considering how you can join in with that. Also, you do need to decide to do some things and not others. That's good vision. You can't do every possible thing that Christians could do in your community and beyond because there's simply just not enough hours in the week. So you have to choose some things deliberately for specific reasons and tell people why. Change your world, even if you can't change the world. Now, earlier this week, I was listening to Mark Griffiths, who is the Dean of Discipleship at St Paddon's Institute, which is the training arm of the church in Wales. And he reminded me that when Robert Rake started the first Sunday school in 1780, he saw his idea grow to reach 300,000 unchurched children within 5 years. That's just astronomical, isn't it? Now, it hadn't been his intention to do that. He just looked out the window and saw a group of unruly boys playing and wondered why they weren't in church. Rick saw the need and tried to do something about it to meet that need, and God did the rest, which links really nicely with that Bible verse that Aaron shared with us earlier on. So once you've established your vision, the next step is to identify what this could mean practically and think about the specific projects and actions that you might do. And it's often helpful to do a bit of research to gather some feedback and use that to shape your strategy. So some of you may know, and you'll have seen the slide popping up on the reel, that Ben has been working with Bishop Philip to create a youth forum. So this is a place where we can listen to the ideas and opinions of young people and use their feedback to shape our ministry in the Diocese of Blackburn. So when young people were asked for their ideas to encourage more teenagers into church, some of their responses included these things here. I'm not going to read them out to you, you can read that for yourselves. And after hearing the most common responses, when we've done our research, we can choose one or two areas that become the focus of our attention, and we can explore both the things that will help drive our vision forward and the things that might be holding us back. I really love the story of Ben Hunt Davis, who was on the GB8 rowing team, and in 1998, following another disappointing rowing world championships, the team realised that if they carried on doing what they've been doing, they would keep getting what they've been getting, which was a lot of seventh place finishes. So the team decided to approach things differently asking the same simple question in every single conversation, decision and action that they took. And the question that they asked was, will it make the boat go faster? What could they do to remove the drag and maximise the propulsion to drive the boat forward? Everything that they did had to make the boat go faster. And by looking at everything through this lens, the rowing team went on to win a gold medal in the Sydney Olympics in the year 2000, just 2 years later. So the will it make the boat go faster question is something that I often return to in my role, especially when I'm faced with a number of competing priorities, because it helps me to focus on the things that clearly align with a vision and strategy for my work. Will it make the boat go faster? So it's all well and good having a vision and laying out some action steps that you're going to pursue to achieve it, but how do we ensure that not only is everyone included in the vision, but they are carriers of it? How do we get buy-in from the whole church community, including those on the fringes? Here are some things that we can look at. Firstly, keep your vision simple and memorable. Don't overcomplicate it. Make sure it's something that everyone can understand and articulate for themselves. Secondly, use stories that demonstrate that your vision works. Share some examples of people's lives that have been changed. We know that testimony can be so powerful. It makes what you say more relatable and it captures the emotions of the listener. How about using data or statistics to prove that what you're doing works, so that there's a need for what it is that you're doing? For example, there are 288,000 under 18s in Lancashire, but only around 5,000 of them are connected to our churches. So sharing information like this helps people to understand the value in what you're trying to achieve. Next, this can be a tricky one for some people I know. Make sure that your church leaders are actively on board. Any project that requires change to take place is 5 times more likely to fail if you don't have visible and active backing from your incumbent and the people at the top in terms of your church leadership. Next, identify the early adopters. These are the people that are super behind you from the start. These are the equivalent people to the ones that queue up outside the Apple shop on the day a new product is released. These people are the influencers and the evangelists that will help you to convince others, so let them help you. Next, listen to those who are hesitant and reluctant and give them opportunity to express their reservations. And then we can validate and recognise their concerns. And, if they feel that they've been heard and have got the opportunity to process what your vision is, then they may eventually choose to step in, and sometimes these people can be our biggest advocates. Another thing is to think about how you're going to measure success. You might want to capture this numerically, how many people attend, something that you've put on, but you might also want to measure other things such as reactions and attitudes which can be used to adjust your strategy if necessary. And lastly, remember that your strategy should not be a finished product. It's something that's permanently in development. It's something that we should constantly revisit and refresh our vision and make sure we re-articulate it to people regularly so that we can keep that momentum going. Keep reminding people of the direction that you're travelling in. Now, often I have people coming to me saying that they want to initiate some change in their church, but they have leaders who unfortunately don't support their vision. And this is something really, really challenging, and there isn't always a solution, but just 1 or 2 things to try if that feels like you. So number 1, memorise your elevator pitch. So this is your 30-second spiel, which describes the why and the what of what you want to go after, which you can then share with people at the appropriate moment. Another thing, building on this, is writing what you might call a humble one-pager, which is just a short document that outlines, here is a problem that I've identified, here is some evidence to back that up, here are some ideas and suggestions that I've come up with. And this document can then be shared with your church leaders or PCC, framing it by saying, I've got some ideas, I'd really value your thoughts. And in this way, this is a constructive approach rather than it being complaining. And lastly, capitalise on the power of enthusiasm. I think if you go into any meeting or any conversation and are enthusiastic, then it builds followership and it grows commitment. Enthusiasm really does drive change, so make sure that you are that positive, enthusiastic voice. As the saying goes, if you aim at nothing, you will hit it every time. So be encouraged to seek God's heart for the young people in your community and communicate that purpose with clarity and passion. Thank you.